Well, hello and welcome everybody to this month's IPRA webinar. I am Philip Shepherd, a past president of IPRA and the current Secretary General. Today we have a panel session, a little different to our ordinary style of things. Our panel is being moderated by IPRA board member and also the chairman of the IPRA Climate Chapter, Daniel Silberhorn, and I'm going to hand over him right now. So he will introduce the speakers we have today and talk about the style of the event. I will be back to talk to you at the end of the event and field the Q&A. If you have questions, it'd be very helpful for you to be clear whom you are asking the question of, as we have a panel, and you can write them in the little Q&A tab, which you see to the left of the chat thing on the left-hand column on your screen. That's all for me. I'm going to leave the stage and hand over to Daniel.
Yes, thank you, Philip, and a very warm welcome to people literally from all over the world. I mean, as usual, we have people from Africa, Europe, have you what, which is one of the great things about being active in IPRA. Yeah, sometimes it's really great to have good news, as you all will know, doing PR and also looking at climate change and sustainability, because we often have news that are a bit critical and or not so good ones. But the good news I'm referring to now is that China has recently unveiled new ESG rules. And this is really a great step looking at the role that country, for example, is playing in the world. And the aim of those rules is to bring regulations in line with the European Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. So, which is probably the biggest overarching topic for European sustainability communication this year, along with avoiding greenwashing. And the wonderful message, and why I'm bringing it up here, is that it is once again a proof point for how valuable it is to demonstrate leadership in going the extra mile and in showcasing excellent work as well, leading by example, so to speak. And this is exactly what you want to do with webinars just like this one, which is aimed at supporting the global PR industry. I mean, as you will know, as you all follow the news, of course, over the past few months, battling climate change has sometimes taken the back seat in the face of crises that seemed more urgent, more pressing. And this is really despite the fact that, as you may have seen as well, we had 12 months for the first time ever of warming of beyond 1.5 degrees in a row for the first time, really ever. And that comes on top of the World Economic Forum showing in its risk report that 5 out of the global top 10 risks for the next decade are related to climate and sustainability. So we have a mismatch in terms of how that topic is on the agenda and how urgent it actually is and remains. So this means, and you can also discuss later on in the discussion and Q&A if you agree with me, but in our view, we communicators have more than probably ever the duty and also the possibility to draw attention more and again to these topics, these risks, which are literally on the top of the world's risk list. So, which is why, in this bigger context, we're especially happy about having these wonderful people you also see here on the screen and great guests today here, which all represent finalists from the 2023 Golden World Awards, you know, the IPRA Global Awards that highlight excellency in PR. It is right now possible, by the way, to enter that competition. And it's the finalists in the category Climate Change and Sustainability. So we have here Flora from Noguchi in Hungary, Pelin from Arti, based in Turkey, Sharina from Pinnacle from the Philippines, and Shombor representing Press Inform, which is also based in Hungary. So welcome and thank you all for joining. So yeah, and what we will do is we will go through the speakers. We will have a short video introducing the campaign first, And then we'll discuss and go through all the communications campaigns. And later on, we will have a Q&A session. And you can also already in the chat post questions, which we'll look at later on. Yeah, wonderful. So with that, first I look towards you, Flora, and we all look at our breakfast tables, actually. And one of the choices we have there with a campaign, as I say, from Hungary, which, by the way, you may also see someday in your own country. So, Flora, yes, that over to the video from your campaign, and we will discuss in a second.
Okay, great.
Yeah, wonderful. So what we see is a very present and very engaging campaign about a very unusual installation. So of course, what comes to mind first is why is it that you focused on methane in that campaign and the idea of comparing one spread alternative to the one that probably is used usually?
Okay, so I start at the beginning. So many consumers do not know, but the production of animal-based foods has a huge environmental impact. Furthermore, agriculture and the dairy products are the major contributors to methane emissions. Methane is being nearly 100 times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. And in our campaign, we wanted to show that making conscious choices about food consumption can make contribution to sustainability without compromises. So, for example, our client's product, Rama plant butter, is just as usable and just as tasty as dairy butter, but it has a 50% smaller environmental footprint.
Yeah, and it's really amazing how such small choice, what we eat and our diet in general, can have, if we accumulate that across the world, really have a very big impact. I mean, in the food system, we generate a huge amount of CO2, which is, of course, another greenhouse gas. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And what we see is this very specific co-creative idea of having the cow, which blows this balloon. Can you take us a little bit into how you actually developed and came up with that particular idea?
Yes, so went back a bit to starters. So the challenge was that according to our researches, the Hungarian consumers are not really environmental conscious. So for example, when they are buy everyday food products, the most important things are the price and the quality, and sustainability is less important. Therefore, we had to find a way to show them how to show the differences between butter and the plant-based margarine. And maybe I can say that methane is not just a sexy thing to talk about. That's why we had to find maybe a bold way to show these methane differences between this product. And we thought that this couple can show it in a very well way. So when we pressed the button, the kettle inflated the balloon and it showed the average amount of methane produced by these farm animals during digestion. And it was very interesting, and we put it in the middle of a mall and everyone tried to push the button and saw it. And I think it was a bit likable, but interesting too.
Mm. Yeah, so using the actual part of being human that also loves playfulness and pushing something and seeing what happens. Yeah, and probably the thing of the really low awareness is something that consumers in Hungary share with others around the world too. So if you look at the campaign, can you speak about some of the results that you had, maybe even results beyond only reach and generating publications?
Yes, so it's a very good question because we reach many people with our campaign by the press materials and the story, but also directly with this installation. So it was in a mall for 1 week, and we reached more than 4,000 people, and the public found it very imaginative. So you should know that Hungarian consumers mostly butter users, and they really like butter or the taste of the butter, but they also found it very interesting to use the installation, and also next to installation they could try the Rama plant butter and they tasted it. So I have to mention that the taste and the usable of this Rama plant butter is as same as the dairy butter.
Yeah, and of course the figure that you're using, the 50% smaller footprint, that's of course quite an astonishing and a big number. I mean, of course, details might be taking this too far, but can you say which data was used to say that? I mean, just saying that to highlight that going forward and in the future, people will very much look at the sort of claims that we PR people do with the EU Green Claims Directive coming and trying to get rid of potential greenwashing. So, which is why I think it's really worthwhile highlighting what sort of data and that you made sure to have good data behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 years ago, Upfield commissioned Quantis, which is an environment sustainability consultancy, to develop a life cycle assessment to enable Upfield to assess the environmental impacts of its product and compare them to the dairy equivalent products. So this life cycle assessment is a metrics-based methodology that used to assess the environmental impacts coming from, for example, greenhouse gas emissions, waste production, land, energy use, etc. And it's calculating over the lifetime of the product, so from the extraction of the raw material to the end of life.
Yeah, very good. Because the life cycle analysis, of course, as people who look into that topic more, is exactly the methodology that is also being provisioned, for example, in discussions in the European Union. So that is a way more solid base. And by the way, maybe it's a good moment to hint at on our website, IPRA.org, we also have the climate change communications guidelines, where we also say, please make sure to avoid greenwashing, and using such data is one way of avoiding potential reproaches. So very happy to see, and that's also one of the parts that makes your campaign a very engaging and good one, and which is why you have come under the finalists. Maybe as a last question, I did see a mention that this campaign might come to other countries too. Can you already say where we might be able to see that in the future? If it's a secret, then of course don't, but maybe you can give a bit.
Actually, right now I cannot say exactly where we're going, but I have to mention that this was the first campaign in Hungary when we directly compared margarine and dairy butter. So it was kind of a very new thing, and we absolutely want to continue it, but not just about the environmental aspects. We also want to talk about the differences between the margarine and butter too. And I think you will see it very soon, but I cannot tell you more right now.
Yeah, looking forward, and if I see it, I will surely be among those pushing the button. Thank you, Flora. Okay, wonderful. So the next Golden World Awards finalists takes us into nature and highlights wildlife. And as people watching this might also know and be aware of, that biodiversity and climate change are very closely linked. So over to Turkey and over to the video that Pelin brought for us.
Can wildlife survive in their natural environment? The answer to this question is no. As a brand carrying out projects in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals with the vision of sustainability, we realised the shortcomings in this regard and took action with our business partner, National Geographic. Boynar was the sole sales point of National Geographic licensed products in Turkey since 2019, and National Geographic was developing projects to support world-renowned explorers and their scientific studies. We joined hands with National Geographic and turned our attention to Kars Sarıkamış, one of the eastern cities of Turkey, which is an important location for the protection of natural life. The ecosystem in this region is one of the most crucial areas for wildlife in Turkey. According to the research of the Kuzey Doğa Society monitoring the natural life here, the migration routes of wildlife animals have been changing a lot in recent years. We implemented the project Exists Today, Let It Not Disappear Tomorrow, in order to monitor the wildlife in Sarıkamış, to provide the wild animals with a sustainable habitat, and to take nature under protection. Grizzly bear Şimal, wolf Ateş, and lynx Hazal, named by Boynar volunteers, were fitted with tracking devices and taken under the supervision of Kuzey Doğa Society. A new Boynar National Geographic capsule collection was created inspired by the creatures photographed by Professor Dr. Çağan Şekercioğlu in Turkey's eastern cities Ardahan, Kars, and Iğdır, where the identified species live. A portion of the proceeds from the sales of the capsule collection was transferred to the monitoring project of the Kuzey Doğa Society. Within the scope of the promotional activities of the capsule collection, the donation model was conveyed, and consumers were invited to say, "Exists today, let it not disappear tomorrow," with their purchasing preferences. In addition, a documentary video was prepared and broadcast on National Geographic and National Geographic Wild, which transparently showed how wildlife was protected from beginning to end. Through the 3-month-long broadcasts and the capsule collection sold in Boynar stores, over 40 million people were reached, and the importance of wildlife was highlighted.
Yeah,
Wow.
let it not disappear tomorrow. That is really some appeal. Berlin, of course, I have to ask you first thing, how much fun was it working with a wildlife explorer? What was the best part about that?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Especially, I would like to say, when you find the right person, your project becomes much more effective and beautiful or fun. He is one of the most famous key opinion leaders about wildlife and bird watcher in the world. So being with him was an inspiring journey. He was really inspired person for us. So he helps us every steps of the project. The best aspect of the project was being physically in the area where we did the project. We had the chance to observe the natural life here for 2 days during the press trip we organized. We experienced it with press members. So even came across footprints of bears or wolves. So we couldn't see them, of course, but we see their footprints. So as the communication team, we understood the project better and enriched the contents of our communication activities. That was the key for the communication plans.
So as so often, it helps to get your hands dirty, or in that case, your boots, being out there where things happen, to understand what is really going on. Sounds wonderful. I envy you a little bit for that. And so the topic is wonderful, and the pictures are great. National Geographic, a fantastic partner, obviously. That person, a fantastic partner. Now, with your client being a fashion company, why is your client engaging in sustainability nature projects?
Yeah, of course, they are selling fashion, but especially they are multi-brand retail stores. They have really huge power all over the Turkey. They have more than 100 stores in Turkey. So they have a really power to affect the society, our country. So they are using this power. And also, our client is an official supporter of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is really important for us. We take these goals into consideration in all our projects. Even if it's not fashion, we are considering about arts or uh, gender equality on business. We think about sustainability for all these goals. So that means we are using that power for sustainability for all the country. We added a touch of fashion that would not only raise awareness but also involve the target audience in the project and enable them to establish a connection. So we sell a fashion collection, but we enrich them to this motto, let it not disappear tomorrow.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that with power comes responsibility, and that's the
Mhm.
responsibility your client also wanted to take. And of course, being an official supporter of the UN Sustainable Development Goals makes sense to connect with that. And that's actually something we share with IPRA as well. As all of you might know, um, we always look at the responsibility PR people also have, and being a supporter of UN United Nations Sustainability Goals as well.
Yeah.
So that's really wonderful to hear, and really really inspiring. The only thing, of course, is if we see such a project, sometimes people wonder, okay, so here's a company doing something nice, but what about the rest of the strategy? Is
Mhm.
sustainability part of that really? Otherwise, again, people might say, oh no, that's greenwashing. So how is are those projects part of the overall business strategy, maybe even?
Mhm. As I said before, first step is we believe the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Our clients believe that sustainability is not a choice; it's an obligation right now for our country or all over the world. They are transforming their retail, logistic operations for national protection, but also supporting sustainability of art, gender equality, or healthy life. It's an obligation too for sustainability life. At the communication part, we always creating contents for underlying this kind of steps and keeping in touch with NGOs. So we are not creating projects always. We are partner with NGOs, so we are listening them their needs and for supporting their activities.
Okay, so it's not a one time thing, but it's about continuity, about the long term, about
Yeah.
partnering. Yes, that sounds sustainable too, and which is also one of the reasons why you, like the other people here or your projects, like the other projects represented here, made the lists of the finalists in the GWA. Also, like very curious question. Can you say something about what is coming next, either with that client or another one?
Mhm. We finished these projects, but we are focusing on sustainability of textile consumption this year. So we are working with a small business named Nivogo in Turkey, and they are renew the textile waste and contribute to a sustainable economy. I would like to underline these sentences like sustainable economy. It's really important right there for fashion and retail companies. So this year we are continuing to speak about that business operation to inspire other fashion companies to renew products.
We certainly need companies and people who take leadership in that topic. So thanks for doing that also with your campaign. Wonderful. So that is one big topic, and another big topic around the world is packaging. Of course, whatever we buy in the grocery store or whatever usually comes with a huge amount of packaging, and that's not just because of the problem of littering, but also because of other negative aspects on the environment and even related to the climate. So, over to the next project represented here, to some consumer educational work coming from the Philippines, and the movie first, as usual.
Many Filipinos buy products that come in sachets and single-use plastics, as retailing in smaller, cheaper portions better suits their needs. But when these plastic materials pile up, they contribute to the world's ocean filth. With 500,000 tons per year, the Philippines is the third largest contributor of ocean pollution. Here lies the challenge. What can we do to address this? NutriAsia came up with an answer and introduced Bring Your Own Bote, BYOB, a zero-waste store which allows consumers to refill their favorite NutriAsia condiments and products using their own reusable containers. BYOB aims to help reduce plastic consumption and promote environmental sustainability. Customers can refill in just 4 easy steps. First, customers bring their clean, dry bottles to the store. The customer then registers at the counter. Next, they may choose which products they'd like to fill their bottles with. Lastly, they weigh, then pay for their items. BYOB teaches new and better habits by relearning the concept of tingi. Every bottle refilled means 1 less bottle produced. BYOB stores also serve as drop-offs for donations of any plastic materials for repurposing. BYOB stores were partially constructed with eco-bricks, which include shredded used plastic as a component. The launch of the first location, the Mind Museum in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig, was considered a strategic success, with media pickups totaling a PR value of 33.2 million pesos. The City Hall of Quezon City, in partnership with the local LGU, was later tapped as a second location. NutriAsia continues to reach out to LGUs to bring BYOB closer to their communities and to help build a zero-waste community, 1 refill at a time.
So wonderful, Sharina. What a fun project again to work on. And the stores sound great. And I mean, it might be something that people know in other countries too. Certainly in Germany, for example, such packaging-free stores are coming, but also in that culture, it's a particular wonderful thing. They sound great, the stores, and they're not just packaging free, as I understood, but it's also a place to donate old plastic. And the stores themselves are also partly made with recycled materials. In your case as well, what was the starting point for that campaign?
Well, Daniel, if you actually look at how the Philippines has been, we have been heavily reliant on what we call a stingit, and it became a culture apparently in the last 40, 50 years, especially it started after the war. Tingit, that's our local vernacular, is actually sachet economy. Basically, that's what it is. And there are so many products here that actually comes in sachets. Not only products that we consume, but even in the forms of other services like telecoms, the topping of the card, even paying of electricity. So it's just so embedded in the culture, really. So if you ask, what is the starting point? It's that. It's the culture by itself, which NutriAsia aimed to contribute a change in attitude and behavior for that matter. Okay. So the other thing is really the impetus that served for the company to do something is the troubling problem of the single-use plastic. If you're in the Philippines, the products of NutriAsia are as ubiquitous as the smiles of the Filipinos. So everywhere, it's in every household, in every table of every household, and every Filipinos who are actually outside the country. And as you know, one of our greatest experts are our people. So these products they bring with them. So the footprint, the consumer footprint, the product footprint is actually vast, and the company has to take and do something um, by starting with bring your own bottle. Yes.
Wonderful. It must also have been very satisfying to work on that. And again, it's a wonderful example of how important it is. If you want to achieve great results, you need to listen and tap into the culture and how people think and act. So
Yes.
something is really
Yes.
relevant for them. Was that also a help when you spoke to local governments? Because obviously, how did you get local governments on board? Because they need to play along. And so, how did you achieve that? And also, how did you, as another question, how did you achieve reach and get to people beyond the immediate direct store?
Yeah. It's not really we did not reinvent a wheel here. We have a platform and a format which we call the Triple P. It's a private-public partnership, and it has been effective. And I think it started to be implemented in the 90s or the late 80s, for that matter. Um, the PPP format is very present, and we observe that in some projects. And so by going into the local government, that's the methodology really. But what attracted perhaps the local government of Quezon City and the mayor getting on board is how cost effective it is. When some of the schools were actually built by the plastics that were gathered on donation. And Quezon City is one of the most populous cities in Metro Manila. So, just to answer the question, it's really the public and private partnership format, and the track record that it's worthy cause, it's environmental friendly, and it also helped in some of the local government projects, which is the putting up of the infrastructure of a school.
Yeah, and that's probably also something that got the attention of media then, speaking about that partnership and the positive effect of that work, right?
Yes, although there's always a difference on how the government approaches media mileage and the private company factoring, of course, the business interest, if we have to be realistic about it. So I think it's both the effort of the local government in reaching to the media. It didn't really need any advertorial push at all, because by itself it's not just newsworthy, attractive, very good to look at. It's actually very practical and helpful. So since everyone uses the product here of NutriAsia, it's not much of an effort for everyone to know about it too.
So relevant action is usually the best story. Another example of that. So looking at the results of the campaign, I mean, we did see like the media coverage and how people reacted and the sort of value it generated. Which result of your campaign are you especially proud of?
Well, I think as what we intimated in our entry, um, I think the message that we can actually change, and that culture of pingi, being too dependent on the sachet chain, can actually be altered. So I think that's what NutriAsia's gift to our country, if not to all our citizens who are spread around the world too. That it's not like a permanent thing. We can change it. Yes.
Yeah, and fingers crossed for that. Do you already know? Will there be more such stores in the future?
Well, considering the success and the not so, it's a no-brainer methodology. The company, of course, could consider very much to continue this. Just like to put as a postscript, though, that since the pandemic started, that was interrupted. But the plan is to continue it and put more drive to it. We are 7,100, more than 7,000 islands. So this is not a contiguous territory, and the campaign would be more challenging as we move up north and down south. But the plan is there definitely.
Wonderful. I'm sure we all keep our fingers crossed for this and similar campaigns.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And actually, closing the loop of our conversations here, we arrived back in Hungary with the last person here in the round. And from Hungary, we will hear about a biodiversity related campaign as well, and one that leveraged the power of partnerships too, to highlight the role of bees. Let's roll the video, please, first. Yeah, wonderful. What a nice and engaging campaign. You could see the excitement on the kids' faces. So that really made an impact. Shombor, at the time, why did you look at the topic of bees with your client?
So back in 2020, when this campaign started, we worked for a bank with an agricultural focus. And together we then we searched for current issues that are worth fighting for. And that's when we came across the topic of pollinators, and that's when we learned about the unforeseeable consequences of the extinction of pollinators, how bad food crisis would it cause. Because after all, the production of 7 out of 10 food products requires the work of pollinators. And currently, there is nothing we could do against the food crisis if the pollinators disappear.
So certainly a very, very important topic. I mean, we hear these days that in some countries, people trying to grow apples have to pollinate the trees by hand. So certainly something, an important topic to look at. This campaign shows one thing for sure was again, it's the power of partnerships, working with others. And you said a bit about the why, and how did the idea for the specific campaign, how did that develop?
So first of all, we looked around to see what existing programs we could join, and we saw that there was no program that could be taken seriously in Hungary, so we had to create one. And that's why we started looking for potential partners. Many people from the private sector stood behind us. We contacted public organizations and professional organizations too, and of course, a lot of beekeepers also joined us. Everyone brought a different approach. The professional organizations, they provided the profession, the state provided the background check, and the fact that high-ranking politicians also appeared at our events also helped a lot.
Yeah, very good. And also, you're highlighting one aspect that it's often good to see if there's a potential existing great partner already. So you're not reinventing something from scratch, but sometimes you have to break new ground and create new partnerships. The reach of the campaign is fantastic. It's one of the things that really convinced us to get your campaign into the finalists. How do you plan and implement such a campaign?
So we always set a goal and progress step by step. We organize a lot of things, but different institutions also approached us with ideas. For example, there were kindergartens that asked us to go and tell the children about bees. So this great achievement required the result of cooperation, but there were situations that surprised us as well. For example, we made a drawing competition for which many drawings were received, like thousands, even from other countries. When we saw how much the children were interested in this topic, we made an educational beehive that they really, really liked. We were at the One with Nature World of Hunting and the Nature Exhibition in Budapest, where our bid solution camp was really popular. And that's why we thought of putting together a permanent exhibition that you did see in the video. We contacted the Hungarian Natural History Museum, which is the 5th largest natural history museum in Europe, and we set up an exhibition about pollinators. It can still be visited today and has been viewed by 150,000 people. It is also important that one of the commercial television stations regularly reported on us.
Yeah, wonderful. Really, really good. So that's this piece of work, and I'm sure you're also really proud about it. And it also got other awards, as we saw in the video. What can come after such a success? What are you working on next?
So we are still working on Be the Solution campaign. Until now, preschoolers have been at the center of the campaign. Now it will be school children. There will be no drawing competition like before, but for example, we will take the children to apiaries where they can see how honey is made in real life. So it was not a one-time project for us. We are planning for the long term. In addition, our agency is working on several projects, one on health protection and the other on artificial intelligence and education.
So again, highlighting that any engagement should not be a one-time thing, but really part of a longer-term plan and planning for the longer terming. Wonderful. Thank you all for these truly inspiring insights. It's just great to see fantastic campaigns carried out thoughtfully and creatively, and with the results that you got. The reward is campaigns that work if you put in the thoughts. And now looking at the watch, I think now it's time to open the digital floor and see and discuss what our audience is interested in. Over to you, Philip.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all our presenters today for that excellent and diverse set of initiatives that you were all doing and entered for the competition last year. Let me start with a question that was prompted from something that Pelin had said earlier. We heard from her that her client Boyner, sustainability is not a choice but an obligation. So I wondered, Flora, Sharina and Zomba, are you hearing this message from your clients too? And Flora first.
Yes, thank you. If I can start, yes, I can understand and I feel this thing that sustainability is right now not a choice, it's an obligation. And fortunately, we have many clients that also understand these things. So we have many other sustainability campaigns too, and we will have them in the future too.
Lovely. Shrina.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the single-use plastic is on the level of legislation already, and from the last time we checked, it's already it's soon to become a law any minute now. So it is a concern at the same time a challenge, but I think more than anything, what's the most important thing? It's a priority issue in the country. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting you say that legislation is following on this, because we're seeing the same in the European Union now, that the list of things being added as banned single-use plastics is growing. And I think this is all for the better. Yeah. Jean-Bo, is the same for you with your clients? So Jean-Bo, you're muted at the moment. You need to unmute.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Perfect.
So people sometimes think that the problem we have now is the problem of tomorrow. But if we talk about the bees, we have to do something because the future starts tomorrow. So we have to solve a problem, and we have to think about something to solve serious problems like this.
Lovely, thank you for that. So let me take a question that's been posed by our moderator, asking everybody on the panel, which recommendations do you have for people intending to submit a campaign for an IPRA Golden World Award this year? So let's start with Pelin for that.
I believe the content of the application with videos or letters, you should reflect your passion or why you're doing this project really clearly.
Thank you. Flora.
Thank you. So if I can say, my idea is to be bold. So it's very important to start new ideas. Maybe when it sounds a bit maybe too much or too creative or too extraordinary, I think people should try this to make this kind of campaigns, because these are the ways we can make such great results.
Thank you. Sharina?
Well, there are what's this set of categories that IPRA already is putting out there, and I think the variable would be on the methodology. So, all things being equal, therefore, I think it's in my wish list as well that perhaps a campaign integrating the value and threat at the same time of AI should be factored
Yeah.
in some campaigns. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's an
Or
interesting
some
idea.
campaigns.
We were discussing that in IPRA on the board just recently, because we've had, as you may know, a set of initial guidelines for the use of AI in public relations, warning against things like the problems of fake information. We've got another group just set up this month, which is discussing those guidelines with a group of academics around the world. So we're sort of testing them to see how robust they are. And I was talking with the board about next year having categories which are specifically mentioning AI. I think both as a technique, but also maybe as a subject.
Right.
Be interesting to see. So thank you for that. Jean-Paul, what's your thought about recommendations for people submitting a campaign?
I think the most important is that you should seriously believe in your campaign. That's the most important, I think. That you want to change something and really believe it.
I think that's probably very true. And I'd also just like to raise a sort of associated topic, which is ESG, environment and social and governance, sustainability and governance. And we're seeing a lot of interest in this in some countries, but also a certain pushback in terms of the broadness of integrating this, and how sometimes it might take away importance of one aspect or the other. Are you seeing these questions also in your country about ESG, environment, sustainability, and governance being integrated into company activity? Flora, let's start with you again.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, absolutely. So in the previous years, there are more and more ESG projects in our country. So for example, not just in the FMCG sector, also for example, in the IT, telco, and other sectors too. So I think it's getting more and more important, but there is a big way where we can develop and improve these ESG projects too.
Yeah, you're right. Pelin.
I guess we are focusing on environmental support by government, and they are trying to educate children on primary schools. Really, it's really important to educate society. So we are focusing on childness during the childness, where we want to improve their opinion about climate change.
Yeah. Sharina.
My company, the Pinnacle, is also involved with mining. We have clients from the mining sector and other industries vital to national interest as well. And it is not a matter of simple compliance on their part. Okay, it goes beyond CSR at the same time. But so what I'm saying is that is a given for some organizations, companies, industries. I think, though, where the significant step would be important is to integrate in the entire framework of ESG the government. So we have the national government and the local government here, and the media and the academy. The reason why I'm saying that is because ESG is not really a thing that we hear more often here. Right. CSR, yes. Compliances to environmental laws, yes. But ESG standalone, I think it needs to be amplified. It needs to be cascaded in our implementers, in our regulators, in more than anything, in the educational system.
Yes, interesting. Thank you for that. And John Bar, what's the situation with you?
I'm so sorry, I'm not that familiar with this topic like the others, so I don't have an answer to this question now.
Okay, no worries. Thank you very much. So moving on to another question that has just appeared, and this is also for the whole panel. What do you recommend for a brand to stand out from the rest in the future when all brands are joining the sustainability conversation? So if everybody's doing something right, what's going to make it more important in terms of the brand standing out from its competitors? Flora.
So I might be repeating myself, but according to Hungary, so in our country, the sustainability is for the consumers is not so interesting thing. So that's why we have to find new ways to talk about sustainability and environmental projects, because this is the only way that we can reach the consumers right now. So my idea is to be brave, try new ways, and try to tell your messages in a very understandable way, because this is the only way that we can communicate to the consumers. It might other thing in our other countries, but in Hungary, these are our experiences.
Okay, thank you. Pelin.
I think building a trusted relationship with the target audience is really important. So we are working with NGOs for the building this bridge. So it's really important to contribute a really trusting relationship with NGOs. So if you don't have any partner like that, you cannot engage with target audience too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, partnership, very important. Thank you. Sharina.
I would always draw the relatability card. It's not just us, the Filipinos, that we put premium to this. It's always, I think it's universal that at the end of the day, the question is, what's in it for me? So I think for a campaign to actually succeed, albeit the the commonness of the sustainability conversation is to make it as relatable to the level of the individual.
Thank you very much. And John Bohr, finally, what for you makes a brand stand out, or what can a brand do to make itself stand out?
As Flora said, sustainability is not a big thing in Hungary right now for the people. So if you want to step out, you should do something new and do it with passion and communicate it well.
Yeah. I think sounds very good. That I think brings to an end our conversation today. It's been excellent. I'm delighted to see all the technicals seem to be in our favor and worked nicely, which is great when we're going around the world from the Philippines through Turkey and to Hungary, to Germany and to France, where we're all based. And indeed, the people listening in today were from all continents of the world. So my thanks to Sharina, to Pelin, to John Bohr, and to Flora, and of course to Daniel for hosting it all for us. We'll be back as IPRA next month on the 11th of April, and we're talking about impact PR from the perspective of somebody who is ex-military. So that will be a slightly new and interesting take on public relations activity. Once more, thank you to all our panelists and our moderators today, and to you for listening. So goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.